In the heart of Manhattan, where skyscrapers pierce the clouds and fortunes are made with the stroke of a pen, there lived a man named Michael Harrison. At 42 years old, he was everything the world admired, a self-made billionaire, CEO of Harrison Technologies, a man whose name appeared on the covers of Forbes and Fortune magazines. His corner office on the 55th floor overlooked Central Park, and from that height, the world seemed small, manageable, conquerable. But there was one thing Michael Harrison could never conquer: the crushing weight of being both a father and a mother to his 6-year-old daughter Emma. 6 years ago, his wife Catherine had brought Emma into the world, and in that same moment of miraculous life, she had slipped away. Complications during childbirth, that's what the doctors had said. Words that sounded so clinical, so sterile, yet carried the weight of a devastation Michael still carried every single day. Catherine never got to hold Emma for more than a few fleeting moments. She never got to see her daughter's first smile, hear her first laugh, or witness the way Emma's eyes sparkled with the same brightness that Catherine's once did. For 6 years, Michael had raised Emma alone. He turned down every concerned relative who suggested he needed help, every well-meaning friend who tried to set him up on dates, every business associate who hinted that a man in his position should remarry. No one could replace Catherine. No one would ever be Emma's mother. He would do this alone, even if it killed him. And on this particular Tuesday in October, it nearly did. The conference call had started at 2 p.m. It was supposed to last 30 minutes. But when you're negotiating a $300 million merger with a Japanese tech firm, 30 minutes can easily become 3 hours. Michael sat in his leather chair, his eyes fixed on the screens showing the faces of executives from Tokyo, Los Angeles, and London. Numbers flashed across spreadsheets. Legal terms were debated. His assistant, Jennifer, had knocked twice, but Michael had waved her away both times. He was in the zone. This was what he did best. This was where he had control. What he didn't see was Jennifer's increasingly worried expression. What he didn't hear, through his noise-canceling headphones, was her urgent whisper, "Mr. Harrison, it's 3:30. Emma's school." By the time Michael pulled off his headphones, it was 4:15 p.m. The conference call had ended. The merger terms had been agreed upon. Michael stretched, feeling the familiar ache in his shoulders, and glanced at his watch. And then his blood ran cold. "Jennifer." His voice cracked as he burst out of his office. "What time is it?" His assistant looked up, her face pale. "Sir, I tried to tell you. It's 4:15. Emma's school called twice. I told them you were in a meeting, but—" Michael didn't hear the rest. He was already running toward the elevator, his phone pressed to his ear, calling the Montessori Academy where Emma attended first grade. The phone rang. And rang. And rang. "Riverview Montessori, this is Patricia speaking. This is Michael Harrison, Emma Harrison's father. I'm so sorry, I was in a meeting, I'm coming right now. Mr. Harrison." The principal's voice was cold, professional, and laced with barely concealed anger. "We tried to reach you multiple times. Emma waited at the pickup area for over an hour. Our policy clearly states." "Where is she? Is she still there? Please, I'm on my way." "Mr. Harrison, when we couldn't reach you or any of the emergency contacts, and Emma was becoming increasingly distressed, she ran off. One of our teachers stepped inside for just a moment, and when she came back out, Emma was gone." The elevator seemed to drop out from beneath Michael's feet, though it was moving upward to the parking garage. "What do you mean she's gone? She's 6 years old. How could you let her?" "We've called the police, Mr. Harrison. They're searching the area now. We need you to come to the school immediately." Meanwhile, 3 miles away in the Bronx, in a neighborhood where dreams were measured not in millions but in whether or not the rent would be paid that month, Sarah Martinez was walking home from her second shift of the day. Before we continue, I'd like to thank you for your love and support for this channel. God bless you and your family. Do not forget to like, subscribe and share for more amazing stories. Sarah was 28 years old, though life had aged her in ways that numbers couldn't measure. She worked 2 jobs, mornings at a laundromat folding other people's clothes, and evenings cleaning office buildings in downtown Manhattan. Her apartment was a studio in a building that had seen better decades, where the radiator clanged at night and the neighbors' arguments echoed through thin walls. But Sarah had something that money couldn't buy, a heart that still believed in goodness. As she turned the corner onto her street, her feet aching in worn-out sneakers, she noticed something that made her stop in her tracks. There, sitting on the stoop of an abandoned building, was a little girl. She couldn't have been more than 6 or 7 years old, wearing what Sarah immediately recognized as expensive clothes, a pristine white dress with delicate embroidery, polished Mary Jane shoes, a small designer backpack. But it was the little girl's face that broke Sarah's heart. Tears streaked down her cheeks, her eyes were red and puffy, and she was shivering despite the mild October evening. Sarah approached slowly, crouching down to the girl's level. "Hey there, sweetheart," Sarah said softly. "Are you okay? Are you lost?" The little girl looked up, her bottom lip trembling. I can't find my daddy. He was supposed to pick me up from school, but he never came. I waited and waited, and then I got scared, and I started walking, and now I don't know where I am." Sarah's heart clenched. She looked around, hoping to see frantic parents searching for their child, but the street was quiet except for the distant sound of traffic. "What's your name, honey?" "Emma," the little girl whispered. "Emma Harrison." "Okay, Emma. My name is Sarah. Do you know your daddy's phone number?" Emma shook her head, fresh tears spilling over. "It's in my phone, but my phone died. I don't know the numbers by myself. I'm only 6. Sarah sat down on the stoop beside her. She should call the police, she knew that. But something about this child, sitting alone and terrified in a neighborhood that could be dangerous after dark, made Sarah want to make sure she was safe first. "Are you hungry, Emma?" Emma nodded slowly. "Okay. I live just down the street. How about you come with me, we'll get you something to eat, and we'll charge your phone so you can call your daddy. Does that sound good?" For the first time, Emma's expression brightened slightly. "Okay." Sarah's studio apartment was small, smaller than most people's closets, probably. The entire space was maybe 300 square feet, with a kitchenette in one corner, a bed in another, and a tiny bathroom barely big enough to turn around in. But it was clean, and it was home, and Sarah had made it cozy with second-hand furniture and plants she'd rescued from the sidewalk. Emma stood in the doorway, looking around with wide eyes. Sarah wondered what the child was thinking, whether she was judging the cramped space, whether she was scared. But then Emma said something that surprised her. "It's nice. It feels warm." Sarah smiled. "Thank you, sweetie. Now, let me see what I can make for dinner." She opened her refrigerator and her heart sank. She'd meant to go grocery shopping after work, but she'd been too exhausted. All she had was half a loaf of bread, 3 eggs, a small block of cheese, and some butter. It would have to do. For the next 30 minutes, Sarah worked what little magic she could in her tiny kitchen. She made scrambled eggs with cheese, toasted the bread, and even managed to create a smiley face on Emma's plate with the food. It wasn't much, Sarah knew it wasn't much, but it was everything she had. Emma ate like she hadn't seen food in days, which Sarah found odd given how well-dressed the girl was. Maybe she'd been lost for longer than Sarah thought. Maybe she'd been wandering these streets for hours. "Is it good?" Sarah asked, sitting across from her at the small table. Emma nodded enthusiastically, her mouth full. After she swallowed, she said, "My daddy usually has Mrs. Chun make my dinners. She's our cook. But this is better. You made it special." A cook. Sarah's suspicion that this child came from money was confirmed. But none of that mattered now. All that mattered was getting Emma home safely. "Let's charge your phone, okay?" Sarah found Emma's pink phone in her backpack and plugged it into the charger by her bed. While they waited, Emma looked around the apartment again. "Where's your family?" she asked with the innocent directness of children. Sarah's smile faltered for just a moment. "It's just me, honey. My family is back in Texas, and I moved here for work." "Don't you get lonely?" The question hit harder than it should have. "Sometimes," Sarah admitted. "But I'm okay. What about you? Tell me about your daddy." Emma's face lit up. "My daddy is the best. He's really, really smart, and he has a big office with lots of computers. But..." Her expression fell. "He works a lot. Like, all the time. Sometimes I think he forgets about me." "Oh, sweetie, I'm sure he doesn't forget about you. I bet he loves you more than anything in the world." "He does," Emma said quietly. "But sometimes I wish he had someone to help him remember things. I wish I had a mommy." Sarah's throat tightened. What happened to your mommy? She died when I was born. Daddy said she's in heaven watching over me. But I don't remember her. I see pictures, and Daddy says I have her eyes, but I wish I could have known her. Sarah reached across the table and took Emma's small hand in hers. I bet she was wonderful. And I bet she would be so proud of you. Emma looked up at her with those big, soulful eyes. Can you be my friend, Sarah? Of course, honey. Of course. They sat together as the phone charged, and Sarah listened as Emma told her about school, about her favorite teacher, about the art project she was working on. And for a little while, in that tiny apartment in the Bronx, two lonely souls found comfort in each other's company. When the phone finally had enough charge, Sarah helped Emma call her father. It rang once, twice, and then, Emma. Oh my God, Emma, where are you? Are you okay? Who is this? Michael Harrison had lived through many difficult moments in his life. The death of his wife. The early years of his company when bankruptcy seemed inevitable. The countless sleepless nights worrying about whether he was doing right by Emma. But nothing, absolutely nothing, compared to the last 3 hours. He'd raced to Emma's school, where police officers were already searching the surrounding blocks. He'd given them a recent photo, described what she was wearing, provided every detail he could think of. He'd called in favors from every contact he had, private investigators, security firms, even a former FBI agent he'd met at a charity gala. His phone had become an extension of his hand, refreshing news feeds, checking his messages, praying for any information. Jennifer had tried to get him to sit down, to drink water, to breathe. But how could he breathe when Emma was out there somewhere, alone and scared? It was his fault. All his fault. He'd been so consumed by work, so focused on closing that damn deal, that he'd forgotten the one thing, the only thing that truly mattered. If something happened to Emma, he would never forgive himself. And then his phone rang. An unknown number. Hello. His voice cracked. Daddy. Michael's knees buckled. He grabbed the edge of a desk to steady himself. Emma. Oh my God, Emma, where are you? Are you okay? Who is this? Daddy, I'm okay. I'm with a nice lady. Her name is Sarah. She found me and gave me dinner and put her on the phone. Put Sarah on the phone right now. There was rustling, and then a different voice, soft, nervous, distinctly female. Mr. Harrison? This is Sarah Martinez. Your daughter is safe. She's here with me. I found her on the street in the Bronx and I... The Bronx? What is she doing in the Bronx? What's your address? I'm coming right now. Sarah gave him the address, and Michael was already moving, snapping his fingers at his driver, motioning for his security team. Is she hurt? Did anyone hurt her? No, sir. She's completely fine. She was just scared and hungry. I fed her and... You fed her? What did you give her? Does she have any allergies? Did you? Mr. Harrison. Sarah's voice was calm, gentle. She's okay. I promise. She had eggs and toast. She's safe. Michael realized he was being irrational, that his fear was making him sound like a madman. I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you for finding her, for keeping her safe. I'll be there in 20 minutes. We'll be here. Michael Harrison moved like a man possessed. His motorcade, 2 black SUVs and his personal Mercedes, raced through the streets of Manhattan and into the Bronx. He'd called the police to let them know Emma had been found. He'd texted Jennifer to cancel all his meetings for the rest of the week. Nothing else mattered. As they pulled up to the address Sarah had given, Michael felt his heart clench. The building was old, the neighborhood rough around the edges. This was where Emma had been. This was where a stranger had taken his daughter. But even as worry flooded him, another emotion stirred gratitude. Because Emma was safe. Because someone had cared enough to help her. The security team exited first, surveying the area. Michael's driver opened his door, and he stepped out onto the sidewalk. He could feel eyes on him, neighbors peering out windows, people stopping to stare at the obvious display of wealth in a neighborhood that rarely saw it. He climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor, his security team flanking him, and knocked on apartment 3B. The door opened, and Michael's breath caught. Sarah had expected a wealthy man. the designer clothes Emma wore, the phone that probably cost more than Sarah made in a month. These were clues. But nothing had prepared her for the sight of Michael Harrison standing in her doorway. He was tall, probably 6'2", with dark hair that had just a touch of gray at the temples. He wore an expensive suit that fit him perfectly, and even in his obvious distress, there was an air of power about him. But it was his eyes that caught Sarah off guard, dark brown eyes that looked exhausted, terrified, and infinitely relieved all at once. "Mr. Harrison," Sarah said, stepping back. "Please come in." Michael barely heard her. His eyes had found Emma, who was sitting on Sarah's bed, her legs swinging back and forth. "Emma." "Daddy." Emma jumped down and ran to him, and Michael scooped her up, holding her so tightly Sarah worried he might hurt her. But Emma was laughing, her arms wrapped around her father's neck. "I'm so sorry, baby girl. I'm so sorry. Daddy got caught up at work and I forgot, and I should never have forgotten, and I'm so sorry." "It's okay, Daddy. Sarah took care of me. She made me dinner with a smiley face." Michael pulled back, cupping Emma's face in his hands, checking her over for any sign of injury. Satisfied that she was truly okay, he finally looked up at Sarah. And for the second time that evening, he found himself caught off guard. Sarah Martinez wasn't what he expected. She was young, maybe late 20s, with warm brown eyes and dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. She wore jeans and a faded t-shirt, and there was something about her, a gentleness, a kindness that radiated from her like warmth from a fire. "You're Sarah," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "Yes, sir." "You found my daughter." "I did." She was sitting outside, and she looked so scared, and I couldn't just. Sarah paused, suddenly aware of how small her apartment must seem to this man, how shabby and poor. "I'm sorry if I should have called the police first. I just wanted to make sure she was safe and fed, and—" "Don't apologize." Michael set Emma down gently and took a step towards Sarah. "You saved her. You took care of her when I—" His voice broke. "When I failed her." "Daddy, you didn't fail me." Emma protested. "You were working. Sarah said you probably just got really busy and lost track of time. It happens." Michael looked down at his daughter, then back at Sarah. "You said that." Sarah shrugged. "Kids understand more than we think. She wasn't angry with you, Mr. Harrison. She was just scared. Please call me Michael." He looked around the apartment again, seeing it with new eyes. It was tiny, yes, but it was immaculate. There were plants on the windowsill, a small bookshelf filled with worn paperbacks, a cross on the wall. And on the table, he could see the plate where Emma had eaten, eggs and toast, simple but made with care. "What do I owe you?" he asked suddenly. "For the food, for taking care of her, for—" "Nothing," Sarah said firmly. "You don't owe me anything. I was just doing what anyone would do." Michael's security chief shifted uncomfortably in the hallway. Clearly, they wanted to leave. But Michael found himself reluctant to go. This woman, this stranger, had shown his daughter more kindness in a few hours than most people had shown her in her entire life. "Daddy," Emma said, tugging on his sleeve. "Can Sarah come visit us? Please." Michael looked down at his daughter's hopeful face, then back at Sarah's surprised expression. He pulled out his wallet and retrieved a business card. "I would like to thank you properly. Please, call me. Let me take you to dinner, or whatever you'd like. I owe you more than I can ever repay." Sarah took the card hesitantly. "That's really not necessary." "It is to me." There was a moment, brief but significant, where their eyes met. And in that moment, something shifted. Michael saw not just the woman who had saved his daughter, but a person of rare compassion and strength. Sarah saw not just a wealthy businessman, but a father who loved his child with desperate, consuming devotion. "Thank you," Michael said again. "Truly." "You're welcome." Emma hugged Sarah tightly before leaving. "Bye, Sarah. I'll see you soon, right?" "Maybe, honey. Be good for your daddy." And then they were gone, leaving Sarah alone in her tiny apartment, holding a business card that felt like it might change everything. The next morning, Sarah woke up to her phone buzzing incessantly. Confused, she reached for it and saw dozens of notifications, missed calls, text messages, social media alerts. She opened her news app and her heart stopped. The headline screamed, "Billionaire CEO's daughter found safe after hours missing, rescued by Good Samaritan in the Bronx." There were photos, Emma's school photo, a picture of Michael Harrison at some gala, and then, security camera footage from Sarah's building showing Michael's motorcade pulling up. The story was everywhere. Every major news outlet was covering it. Bronx woman saves missing heiress. Mystery hero finds billionaire's daughter. Michael Harrison's emotional reunion with daughter Emma. Sarah sat on her bed, stunned. She'd had no idea the story would blow up like this. She'd just been trying to help a lost child. Her phone rang. An unknown number. "Hello. Is this Sarah Martinez? This is Linda Chun from Good Morning America. We'd love to have you on the show to tell your story." Sarah hung up. The phone rang again immediately. Another reporter. Then another. And another. By noon, there were news vans parked outside Sarah's building. Reporters camped out in the lobby, trying to get an interview. Sarah's landlord called, asking what was going on. Her co-workers at both jobs had seen the news and were calling to ask if it was really her. Sarah felt like she was suffocating. She'd never wanted attention. She'd never wanted to be in the spotlight. She just wanted to help a little girl who needed help. As she paced her small apartment, trying to figure out what to do, there was a knock on her door. Cautiously, she looked through the peephole and saw something unexpected. Michael Harrison, alone this time, no security team, no motorcade. He wore jeans and a casual button-down shirt, and he looked normal, approachable. Sarah opened the door. "Mr. Harrison, Michael, what are you doing here?" "I saw the news," he said, looking apologetic. "I'm so sorry. I had no idea the media would go crazy like this. My PR team tried to keep Emma's name out of it, but..." He ran a hand through his hair. "I came to apologize and to offer you help. If you need security, or if you want to leave the city for a while until things calm down, I can arrange that." Sarah stared at him. "You came all the way here to apologize? For what? You didn't do anything wrong. I dragged you into this circus. The least I can do is help you navigate it." There was something genuine in his voice, something that made Sarah's defensive walls come down just a bit. "Come in," she said. "Though I warn you, I'm not exactly equipped for entertaining billionaires." Michael smiled, the first real smile Sarah had seen from him. "I think I'll manage." They sat at Sarah's small table, the same one where she'd fed Emma the night before. Sarah made coffee cheap, instant coffee that probably tasted terrible compared to whatever Michael was used to, but he drank it without complaint. "Tell me about yourself," Michael said. "I know you saved my daughter, but I don't know anything else about you." Sarah shrugged. "There's not much to tell. I'm from a small town in Texas. Moved here 3 years ago looking for better opportunities. I work 2 jobs, I pay my rent, and I try to be a good person. That's about it." 2 jobs. Laundromat in the morning, cleaning offices at night. Michael's expression shifted to something that looked like respect mixed with concern. That's a lot. It's what needs to be done. I'm saving up to take some college courses eventually. I never got to finish my degree." "What would you study?" "Social work, I think. I like helping people." Michael looked around the apartment again, seeing it with new appreciation. This woman worked herself to exhaustion, lived in a space barely big enough to breathe in, and still found it in her heart to help a lost child. "Emma hasn't stopped talking about you," he said softly. "All last night and this morning. Sarah this and Sarah that. She wants to see you again." Sarah smiled. "She's a special kid. You're lucky to have her." "I know." Michael's voice grew heavy. "I just wish I was better at showing her that. Yesterday I almost lost her because I was too busy with work. What kind of father does that make me?" "A human one," Sarah said gently. "You made a mistake. But you love her, anyone can see that. And she knows it too." "How can she? I'm never there. I'm always at the office, always in meetings, always putting work first." "Why?" Sarah asked simply. Michael looked up, surprised. "What? Why do you work so much? You're already successful. You have more money than you could probably spend in 10 lifetimes. So why keep pushing so hard? It was a question no one had ever asked Michael so directly. He thought about it, really thought about it, maybe for the first time in years. Because. He started, then stopped. Because if I'm not working, I'm thinking. And if I'm thinking, I'm remembering. My wife, Catherine, she should be here. She should be raising Emma with me. Every time I look at Emma, I see Catherine. And it hurts. So I work. I pour myself into something I can control, something that makes sense. Sarah reached across the table and placed her hand over Michael's. It was a simple gesture, but it felt like absolution. Catherine would want you to live, Sarah said softly. Not just survive, but actually live. And Emma needs you to do that too. She needs her father present, not just physically there but emotionally there. Michael felt something crack open inside his chest, something that had been locked tight for 6 years. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to be everything she needs. Nobody does, Sarah said with a sad smile. But you try. That's all any of us can do. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, and Michael realized something surprising. He didn't want to leave. For the first time in years, he felt peaceful. This tiny apartment, this woman with her gentle wisdom and kind heart, it felt more like home than his mansion ever had. Have dinner with us, he said suddenly. Please. Tonight. Emma would love it, and... He paused, meeting Sarah's eyes. I would too. Sarah hesitated. Michael, I don't think. It's just dinner. As a thank you. And maybe. He smiled. Maybe I could use a friend who sees me as just Michael, not Michael Harrison, the CEO. Sarah studied his face and saw sincerity there, vulnerability that she suspected he rarely showed. Okay, she said. Just dinner. Michael sent a car for Sarah that evening, a gesture that felt simultaneously thoughtful and overwhelming. As she rode through Manhattan toward the Upper East Side, Sarah watched the neighborhoods transform. Buildings grew taller, cleaner, more expensive with each block. When the car pulled up to Michael's building, Sarah had to remind herself to breathe. It was one of those iconic Manhattan addresses, the kind that appeared in movies. A doorman in a pristine uniform opened her door. Miss Martinez? Mr. Harrison is expecting you. Please follow me. The elevator was marble and gold. They rode to the penthouse. Of course it was the penthouse. And when the doors opened directly into Michael's home, Sarah felt like she'd stepped into a different universe. The apartment was massive, easily 10 times the size of Sarah's entire building. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a stunning view of Central Park and the Manhattan skyline. The decor was elegant but warm, with family photos scattered throughout, Emma at various ages, Emma with her mother in the hospital, Emma on her first day of school. Sarah. Emma came running, wearing a pretty blue dress. You came. You came. I told Daddy you would come. Sarah hugged her, laughing. Of course I came. You think I'd miss dinner with my friend? Michael appeared from what must have been the kitchen, wearing dark jeans and a navy sweater. He looked relaxed, almost boyish, so different from the desperate father or powerful CEO she'd seen before. Welcome, he said warmly. I hope you're hungry. Emma insisted we make your favorite meal, except we realized we don't know what your favorite meal is, so we may have gone a little overboard. A little. A woman emerged from the kitchen, Asian, probably in her 50s, wearing an apron and smiling. Mr. Michael had me prepare enough food for 20 people. Sarah, this is Mrs. Chun, our cook and the person who actually keeps this household running. Mrs. Chun, this is Sarah Martinez. Mrs. Chen's eyes twinkled as she shook Sarah's hand. The hero of the hour. Emma hasn't stopped talking about you. It's very nice to meet you. Dinner was both surreal and surprisingly comfortable. They ate in a dining room that probably cost more than Sarah's entire year's salary, at a table that could seat 12 but felt intimate with just the 3 of them. Michael had indeed gone overboard. There was everything from pasta to steak to grilled fish to at least 5 different side dishes. But it was Emma who made everything feel normal. She chattered endlessly, telling Sarah about her day at school, about the new art project she was working on, about the book she was reading. Emma, Michael said gently at one point, let Sarah eat, sweetheart. No, it's okay, Sarah said quickly. I love hearing about your day, Emma. Tell me more about your art project. As Emma launched into an animated description of the volcano she was building, Michael watched Sarah. Really watched her. The way she listened to Emma with complete attention. The way she asked follow-up questions that showed she genuinely cared. The way she made Emma feel seen and heard and valued. It occurred to Michael that Emma hadn't been this animated in months. Maybe years. And he knew with a certainty that was both thrilling and terrifying, that it was because of Sarah. After dinner, Emma begged to show Sarah her room. Michael watched them disappear down the hall, Emma's small hand in Sarah's, and felt that crack in his chest widen a little more. Mrs. Chen appeared at his elbow. She's special, that one, the older woman said quietly. Yes, Michael agreed. Yes, she is. Emma needs someone like her. A mother's touch. Michael turned to look at Mrs. Chen, surprised by her directness. But the cook just smiled knowingly and returned to the kitchen. In Emma's room, which was bigger than Sarah's entire apartment, Emma showed off her toys, her books, her art supplies. But then she pulled out a small box from under her bed. These are pictures of my mommy, Emma said softly, opening the box to reveal dozens of photographs. Daddy took them. He said she was the most beautiful person in the world. Sarah sat on the floor beside Emma, looking through the photos. Catherine Harrison had indeed been beautiful, blonde, blue-eyed, with a radiant smile. But more than that, she looked kind. In every photo, there was warmth in her eyes. She loved you very much, Sarah said. I can tell, even from these pictures. Do you think she would have liked you? The question caught Sarah off guard. I don't know, honey. Why do you ask? Emma looked up at her with those impossibly wise eyes. Because I like you. A lot. And Daddy seems happier when you're here. I think Mommy would want Daddy to be happy. Sarah's throat tightened. I'm sure your mommy wants both of you to be happy. Sarah. Emma's voice was small now. Can I tell you a secret? Of course. Sometimes I pretend you're my mommy. Is that okay? Sarah pulled Emma into a hug, blinking back tears. Oh, sweetheart. That's more than okay. They stayed like that for a long moment, and Sarah felt something shift in her own heart. She'd only known this child for 2 days, but already Emma had burrowed her way into Sarah's soul. Already Sarah couldn't imagine not being part of her life. When they returned to the living room, Michael was standing by the windows, looking out at the city. He turned as they approached. Everything okay? He asked, noting Sarah's slightly watery eyes. Everything's perfect, Emma announced. Can Sarah stay over? Please, Daddy? Please. Emma, I'm sure Sarah has to get home. Actually, Sarah said, I have tomorrow off from both jobs. It's my first day off in a long time. Then stay, Michael said, the words coming out before he'd fully thought them through. We have plenty of guest rooms. You shouldn't have to go back out there to face the media circus. Stay here tonight, where it's safe. Sarah started to protest, but Emma was already cheering, already pulling her toward the hallway to show her the guest room. And Michael, watching them go, thought, please stay. Not just tonight. Please stay. The guest room was, predictably, nicer than any hotel Sarah had ever stayed in. King-sized bed, and soot bathroom, a view that must have been spectacular in daylight. Someone, probably Mrs. Che, had left out fresh towels and a new toothbrush. Sarah stood by the window in the soft pajamas that had been provided, looking out at the glittering city below. It all felt like a dream. 2 days ago, she'd been a nobody struggling to make rent. Now she was staying in a penthouse, having dinner with a billionaire and his daughter, feeling things she had no right to feel. Because that was the problem, wasn't it? She was falling for them. Both of them. Emma, with her sweet smile and her motherless heart. And Michael, with his vulnerability and his fierce love for his daughter and the way he looked at Sarah like she was something precious. But this wasn't her world. Tomorrow, she'd go back to her tiny apartment and her 2 jobs and her regular life. This was just, what? A momentary intersection of 2 very different paths. There was a soft knock on the door. Come in, Sarah called, expecting Mrs. Chun. But it was Michael who entered, carrying 2 glasses of wine. I thought you might not be able to sleep. New place, strange bed. I know I never can. He handed her a glass, and they stood together by the window. Thank you for staying, Michael said. Emma's already asleep, but she was so happy. I haven't seen her like that in a long time. Sarah guessed. Ever, maybe. At least not that I can remember. He took a sip of wine. She asked me tonight if I thought her mother would like you. Sarah's hand tightened on her glass. She asked me the same thing. What did you tell her? That I hoped so. Michael turned to look at her, really look at her. Catherine would have loved you. She was a lot like you, actually. Kind, selfless, always thinking of others before herself. His voice grew rough. She would want me to move on. To find someone who could be a mother to Emma. She told me that, actually, in those last few minutes. She made me promise not to spend my life alone. Michael. I'm not telling you this to pressure you or to make you uncomfortable. I want you to know that what I'm feeling isn't a betrayal of Catherine. It's me finally living again. Sarah's heart was pounding. What are you feeling? Michael set down his wine glass and turned to face her fully. I'm feeling like maybe the universe brought you into our lives for a reason. I'm feeling like I've been going through the motions for 6 years, and then you walked into my life and suddenly everything is in color again. I'm feeling like I'm standing on the edge of something terrifying and wonderful, and I want to jump. We barely know each other, Sarah whispered. I know. It's crazy. It's too fast. But I also know that I've never felt this way about anyone except Catherine. And I think you feel it too. Sarah couldn't deny it. She did feel it. This pull, this connection, this sense of rightness that defied all logic. I'm not from your world, she said. I'm a girl from Texas who works 2 jobs and lives in a studio apartment. You're Michael Harrison. We're from different planets. So what? Michael stepped closer. Sarah, I don't care where you're from or how much money you have or any of that. I care that you're kind. I care that you make my daughter laugh. I care that when I'm with you, I feel like myself again. Like Michael, not the CEO, not the widower, not the guy who has everything except what matters most. And what's that? Someone to share it all with. They stood there, inches apart, the city lights twinkling behind them. Sarah knew she should step back, should be sensible, should remember all the reasons this was a bad idea. But then Michael reached out and gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, and all those reasons evaporated. I'm scared, she admitted. Me too, he said. But maybe we could be scared together? And then he kissed her. Soft, gentle, full of promise and hope and the tentative beginning of something neither of them had expected, but both of them desperately wanted. When they pulled apart, Sarah was smiling despite herself. This is crazy, she said. Completely insane, Michael agreed, grinning. Your daughter is probably going to have us married off in her head by tomorrow. She already does. Trust me. They both laughed, and it felt good. It felt right. So what do we do? Sarah asked. Michael took her hand. We take it one day at a time. We get to know each other. We see where this goes. No pressure, no expectations. Just possibilities. Possibilities, Sarah repeated. I think I like the sound of that. The next 3 months were a whirlwind. Michael and Sarah dated, actually dated, like normal people. He took her to restaurants where she felt hopelessly out of place in her thrift store dresses. She took him to her favorite taco truck, where he admitted the food was better than anything his private chef had ever made. They went to museums, walked through Central Park, and discovered they both loved terrible action movies and competitive board games. And through it all, Emma was their constant, delighted shadow. But it wasn't all easy. There were challenges, real, significant challenges that tested them both. The media attention was relentless at first. Billionaire's Cinderella story read one headline. From poverty to penthouse, Michael Harrison's new romance, said another. Sarah's face was on gossip websites, her background investigated, her past picked apart. She hated it. The attention, the scrutiny, the judgment from people who didn't know her. There were cruel comments online, gold digger, opportunist, someone who had orchestrated the whole thing. People who couldn't believe that a billionaire might genuinely fall for an ordinary woman. One night, After a particularly brutal article was published, Sarah almost called it off. "I can't do this," she said, sitting in Michael's living room with tears streaming down her face. "Every day there's a new article about how I'm not good enough for you, how I'm using you, how I'm going to ruin Emma's life. Maybe they're right. Maybe I should." "Stop," Michael said firmly, pulling her into his arms. "I don't care what they say. I care about what I know. And I know you're the best thing that's happened to us." "Daddy's right," Emma said, crawling onto the couch beside them. She'd been listening from the hallway. "Those people are just mean because they're jealous. You're perfect, Sarah." But there were other challenges too. Sarah struggled with the wealth disparity. Michael wanted to help her, to make her life easier, but Sarah was proud. She'd worked hard for everything she had, and accepting handouts felt wrong. "Let me pay off your student loans," Michael said one evening. "No. Why not? It would be nothing to me, and it would free you from—" "Because I need to do this myself," Sarah said firmly. "I appreciate it, Michael, I do. But I need to know I can stand on my own 2 feet. It frustrated Michael, this stubborn independence. But it also made him respect Sarah even more. She wasn't with him for his money. She was with him because she loved him, and that was worth more than all his billions combined. And there were adjustments for Emma too. She adored Sarah, but sometimes she struggled with the idea of her father loving someone other than her mother. One night, she had a meltdown, screaming that Sarah wasn't her real mom and never would be. Sarah, to her credit, didn't get angry. She just held Emma while she cried, whispering, "I know, honey. I'm not trying to replace your mommy. I could never replace her. I just want to love you too. Is that okay?" Eventually, Emma nodded against her shoulder. "I love you too, Sarah. I'm scared." "Scared of what, sweetheart?" "That if Daddy loves you, he'll forget about Mommy. And I don't want him to forget her." Sarah pulled back to look Emma in the eye. "Your daddy will never forget your Mommy. She'll always be a part of both of you. I'm not here to erase her, I'm here to add to your family, not replace anyone in it." Slowly, through patience and love and more than a few tears, they became a family. Not overnight, not without struggles, but genuinely and truly. Michael cut back his hours at work. He started leaving the office at 5, making it to Emma's school plays and parent-teacher conferences. He learned that being present was more valuable than any business deal. Sarah eventually quit one of her jobs, not because Michael demanded it, but because she realized she wanted to spend more time with Emma. She started taking online classes toward her social work degree. Michael offered to pay for them. This time, Sarah accepted. It was a compromise, a meeting in the middle. And Emma blossomed. With both Michael and Sarah's attention, she became more confident, more open, more joyful. She started calling Sarah Sarah Mom, which made them both cry the first time. 6 months after that night in the Bronx when Sarah had found a lost little girl, Michael took them both to dinner at an expensive restaurant overlooking the Hudson River. "I have something to say," he announced, looking nervous in a way Sarah had never seen before. Emma giggled. "Daddy's going to do it. He's finally going to do it." "Emma, hush," Michael said, but he was smiling. He turned to Sarah and pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. Sarah's hands flew to her mouth. "Michael." "Before you say anything," Michael interrupted, opening the box to reveal a stunning ring, "I want you to know something. This isn't about the story of how we met. This isn't about the fairy tale that the media keeps pushing. This is about the fact that every day for the past 6 months, I've woken up grateful that you're in my life. This is about the way you make Emma laugh, the way you challenge me to be better, the way you see past the money and the status to the person underneath." He got down on one knee, and several nearby diners gasped. "Sarah Martinez, you walked into our lives when we needed you most. You saved Emma that night, but you saved me too. You showed me it was okay to live again, to love again, to hope again. You are the most remarkable woman I've ever known, and I want to spend the rest of my life proving to you how much you mean to me. Will you marry me?" Sarah was crying. They were the good kind of tears, the overwhelming kind that come when life surprises you with something so perfect you can hardly believe it's real. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, of course yes." Michael slipped the ring onto her finger and stood, pulling her into a kiss while the entire restaurant erupted in applause. Emma was bouncing in her seat, clapping her hands. I'm going to have a ceremony for real. Like, officially and everything. They were married 3 months later, in a ceremony that somehow managed to be both elegant and intimate. Emma was the flower girl, of course, wearing a dress she'd picked out herself. Mrs. Chun cried through the entire ceremony. And as Sarah walked down the aisle toward Michael, she thought about how impossible this all would have seemed just a year ago. One act of kindness. That's all it had taken. One moment of choosing to help someone in need rather than walking past. And it had changed everything. In his vows, Michael said, Catherine once told me that love doesn't divide, it multiplies. She was right. Loving you doesn't diminish my love for her. It expands my capacity to love, to be grateful, to appreciate every precious moment we have. You've taught me that it's okay to be happy again. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for loving Emma. Thank you for being brave enough to say yes to this crazy, unexpected, wonderful life. Sarah's vows were simpler but no less heartfelt. I found Emma on a street corner one October evening, scared and alone. I had no idea that in helping her, I was finding my own family. Michael, you've shown me that love doesn't have to make sense, it just has to be true. And this us, what we've built together, it's the truest thing I've ever known. I promise to love Emma as my own. I promise to support you in being the father and the man you want to be. And I promise that no matter what challenges come our way, we'll face them together. After the wedding, they honeymooned in Italy, all three of them. Emma insisted on being included, and neither Michael nor Sarah had the heart to say no. They toured Rome and Florence and Venice, eating gelato and taking silly pictures and laughing in a way that felt like freedom. One evening, as they stood on their hotel balcony overlooking the Amalfi Coast, Emma already asleep inside, Michael pulled Sarah close. Do you ever think about that night? He asked. About what would have happened if you just walked past her? Sarah shuddered. I try not to. It's too scary. I think about it all the time, Michael admitted. How close I came to losing everything. How one mistake, one moment of being too focused on the wrong things, could have cost me the person who matters most. And then I think about how lucky I am. How impossibly, incredibly lucky. We're all lucky, Sarah said. Emma found me that night, but I found her too. I found both of you. And you found me. We found each other. Do you believe in fate? Michael asked. Sarah thought about it. I believe in kindness. I believe that when we choose to help others, to open our hearts even when it's inconvenient or scary, amazing things can happen. I believe that love, real love, always finds a way. Michael kissed her forehead. I love you, Sarah Harrison. I love you too. Years later, when Emma was in high school and writing a college essay about someone who'd changed her life, she wrote about that October evening when she'd gotten lost. She wrote about sitting on a stoop in a neighborhood she didn't know, scared and alone, and then about a woman who'd stopped to help. A woman who'd had every reason to keep walking. She was tired from working 2 jobs, she barely had enough food for herself, she lived in a tiny apartment with no room for guests. But she'd stopped anyway. She'd chosen kindness over convenience. She'd chosen to see a child in need rather than a complication to her evening. And that choice had rippled outward in ways no one could have predicted. It had brought together a family that needed each other. It had taught a workaholic father to prioritize what truly mattered. It had shown a little girl that love could expand to make room for new people without diminishing the memory of those who'd gone before. And it had given a woman who'd been struggling and alone a family, a home, and a love she'd never imagined possible. Sarah still worked. She'd eventually gotten her social work degree and now ran a nonprofit that helped connect lost or runaway children with resources. Emma volunteered there every summer. Michael sat on the board and funneled donations through his foundation. They lived in the penthouse still, but Sarah had long since made it feel like home. Her plants filled the windowsills. Her books lined the shelves. Her laughter echoed through rooms that had once been silent. On the wall in the living room hung 2 photographs. One was of Catherine, young and beautiful, holding newborn Emma. The other was of Sarah, Michael, and Emma, taken on their wedding day. 2 women who had loved the same little girl. 2 women who had taught a man how to keep his heart open. 2 women who, in their own ways, had saved a family. Do you think Mommy Catherine would be happy? Emma asked one evening, looking at the photos. Sarah and Michael stood on either side of her, their arms around each other. I think, Michael said softly, she'd be very happy. Because we're happy. And that's what love is, wanting the people you care about to be happy, even if you can't be there to see it. Emma nodded. Then she hugged them both. I'm glad Sarah found me that night. So are we, sweetheart, Sarah said, her voice thick with emotion. So are we. And in that moment, in that home filled with love and laughter and the beautiful complexity of a family forged not just by blood but by choice, by kindness, by the simple decision to help a stranger in that moment, everything was exactly as it should be. Sometimes the greatest love stories don't start with love at all. They start with compassion. With a choice to care about someone else's pain. With a simple, profound act of stopping to help when you could just as easily walk away. Sarah had stopped. She had helped. And in doing so, she hadn't just saved a little girl that night. She'd saved them all. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and share.